feel like my music has always been somewhat drum and bass adjacent.
I've always been waking up at like 1 p.m. or like 2 p.m. like every day, you know?
Been a nightmare for a lot of independent labels.
Shall we start with some breathing? Deep breaths. Okay.
Good.
Inhale. Exhale.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. Reset.
That's all.
Oh, you want to do another one?
Yeah,
Okay.
feels good.
Ready? Inhale. Exhale.
I'm tired. I feel it more now.
Did that?
Can we just sleep?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
That'd be
Right.
a really interesting interview.
Yeah, and we just leave the cameras going on for 1 hour, you know?
Sleep party.
Yeah.
All right. Good night. Yeah. We kept you up last night
Man.
against your body's will.
This morning, the bags under my eyes were intense. It was like,
Well,
I felt it getting out of bed. Like, oh, this is gonna be one of those mornings where I'm like, go back in.
Well, luckily you have makeup for that, right? No.
Yeah, somehow we always never do that, and I always end up just looking terrible on camera.
No one cares.
bro.
That's true.
We're just hanging out. We're
Yeah.
bros hanging out.
So we are here
We are here.
to. I'm supposed to interview you. Obviously, I didn't prepare anything. I know you wrote an EP for Vision,
Oh, yeah.
and we just played a festival together. And I think we will talk about writing music and life and collaborations.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we should just start with, I don't know, let's start recapping on your previous work on Vision and then take it to the next EP.
Cool.
So when you started sending us demos, we were super thrilled, like that you would even consider Vision as like a respectable outlet to put music on. And then you sent me early demos of, I think, which is the one? No, not Goji, but the other one that has the "I Would Die for You" sample. Which
Berry
one?
Patch.
That's Berry Patch.
Mm-hmm.
I remember playing that, like, went straight into my DJ set. It was a very weird one in my set, but I kind of like, I like putting songs in a set that challenge me to like make them make sense. So then I was like, yeah, but if I mix it with this before and this after, it actually works, and then I can pull it off. And that's really like what a big part of my challenge in Noisia sets was, like making unlikely things work.
Mm.
Like, no, I don't want to play this. I want to represent this, but then I have to make it make sense.
Yeah. I think that's the difference between like a DJ tool and a song. You know, something that has more of a song-like feel, something that you can listen to at home, and have that appreciation for it outside of the club atmosphere or the club context. You know, I've always been interested in straddling the line between those two worlds.
Yeah, and I think the Berry Patch EP was a bit more clubby, but it still
sure.
had a huge signature of like all your other work on it. Was that your first work together, really?
I think Goji was the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And then...
How did you end up choosing drum and bass? Because for us it was a bit surprising. Like, you guys, I mean, we were playing your music and your music on Noisia Radio and Vision Radio, but we didn't expect you guys to kind of collaborate on a drum and bass record.
I mean, I think, like, we didn't come together and like, oh, let's make a drum and bass record. Like, it just... Like, I just remember, like, we met and we were like, oh, let's, you know, I like your music, you like my music, let's try to make something. And then I sent him some stuff, he sent me some stuff. And I remember the first demo that I was like, oh, let me work on this was like Goji, you know. And I just thought it was like interesting, you know. And I felt also that at the time where the demo was at, there was enough space for me to also like do something and like develop this. I think when you sent me it was like only the first drop, and then I structured a bit, added the second drop, then I sent back to you. So yeah, it wasn't like anything connected with drum and bass. It was just like, oh, I like this, and I feel like I can bring something, to this song. And then we did Goji, and I think you were kind of happy with what I did, and we were like, oh, it's just experiment more stuff. And then
Yeah.
Young May and Berry Patch came after, and then I think we were like, oh, I think we have like 3 songs that can work for EP. Let's make a 4th one. And then Bramble came in, which was kind of like, oh, let's shift a little bit out of the drum and bass world, make something that can be more like complete the journey of the record.
Yeah.
And Bramble was kind of that. I think that's pretty much.
Yeah,
what
I mean,
happened,
for me, at the time, I feel like my music has always been somewhat drum and bass adjacent, but never like using actual drum and bass patterns and nothing that you could actually put into a drum and bass set unless you're trying to be a bit maybe take something in a different direction,
which I have.
I
would put the box off in my sets a lot.
Box off, and even the songs off of Vapor City are in the 170 174 tempo range, but not necessarily you wouldn't necessarily call them drum and bass. But there was this point, I want to say it was like around 2018. It was after my album Human Energy. I just really started becoming obsessed with drum and bass, and really just trying to crack the code, because it's not easy. Yes, you can easily put together the pattern of a dunga, dunga, but making it sound right and making it hit in the club and making something that just you could mix in with your other favorites, that was like such a huge challenge for me. And for me, Goji was the first time I actually felt like, okay, I'm starting to figure this out a little bit, like starting to figure out like how the drums need to be processed and mixed and the types of sounds you should use. And speaking of that, the way that I started the original demo for that was when me and Miguel had talked about working together. He's like, here's a bunch of samples that I made, and he sent me I think it was like your splice pack that you had made. And a lot of the initial sounds, like this sort of bass growling sound, and some of the like kind of EDM-y stabs and different like sound design elements, I pulled straight from his pack and kind of used those as inspiration to make the track. And
that's cool.
So it felt like collaborative from the get-go, as opposed to me just sending him an idea that I started with my own sounds.
Yeah. And then now you are working on a new EP for Vision, or no, it is actually finished, but
Yes.
we're recording it before release, so
the
the
It's
interview is
done.
recorded.
Yeah.
Well, I guess tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, I think we approached this in a similar way to the first EP. I feel like the Berry Patch, there was a lot of ideas started on my end and then sent to Miguel, and then he would flip them. And just honestly, it was I was always so excited to hear what he would send back, because he has a very like ruthless kind of savage approach sometimes to tracks, where he'll take something completely different in a completely different direction than you would ever expect it to go. And I love that. But at the same time, he would send me the parts back with the caveat of like, look, bro, do whatever you want with these. Like, these are just tons of ideas. You could use one of them, you can use all of them, I don't care. And having that freedom too, to not be like, okay, he really wants it to be like this, made it even more fun for me to be like, oh, I'm going to take this like part that he did over here and kind of chop it up and bring it in this section. And it's just like having all the, in the same way that I started that first track Goji by using a lot of the samples that he had already made, not having to like think about like scrolling through libraries and stuff like that to find and
Yeah.
doing my own sound design, just using all the sounds that he had sent me, which were really interesting. And some things were like, again, like completely decisions I would have never made.
Yeah.
And then to hear like him make those decisions was like really exciting and just I think fueled an aspect of the songs that's unpredictable and like more storytelling like and less linear. Like we
Yeah.
were talking about
Yeah.
the idea of like DJ tools versus more song type things.
Yeah.
And I think like every song ended up having, this is with Berry Patch and with the new EP, but you know, there's like an A section and a B section almost, like both drops are almost like two different songs.
Yeah.
And we had that same approach with the new EP, but this time we kind of split the demo writing between the both of us. So he had 3 ideas that he started and sent to me, and then vice versa. And so it felt a bit more like equal collaboration in that way.
Yeah, and colliding both worlds too.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
And did you write in the studio or did you send each other stems?
Stems.
Also
yeah.
on both projects.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was one session that we did at my studio for Kanagawa, like that we were doing some final touches on the edits, and you know, we're working out of Ableton, but you know, I was like, how does this sound? And like, since he works out of FL Studio, you know, I wasn't expecting him to like go and do the stuff in Ableton, but I was like, it was nice having him there to kind of like bounce ideas off of him, and also you work differently when someone else is in the room, of course, too.
Yeah.
And I think it was important to have that at the very final stage of the EP, where we're doing all those like nice little mixing tweaks and little ear candy moments. And I think specifically we were taking, we both agreed that the title track needed a bit more, needed something a little more interesting. I think like the second drop wasn't, you know, like we were saying, the both drops are typically like almost different songs. We felt like it just didn't feel, I don't know, like exciting enough at that second drop. And so we it was nice doing that in person and kind of coming up with ideas of what to do.
And around that session, we also didn't know kind of what would be like the name and the concept of like the project. So it was also like a good timing for us to just like be together.
That's
I mean, like he was like working, but I was also like just on like Wikipedia and like notes, just like writing like, oh, where can the concept go, you know? And,
yeah,
like,
we would take breaks and go into the kitchen and and like just brainstorm ideas, and we're both researching on our own and like putting it. I think we had like a shared notes file that we were just adding different song name ideas and concepts and definitions.
When you started working, were you already living in LA or were you still in Portugal back then?
I mean, I was kind of like already, I was kind of already like in LA. Like 2018 is the year that I was like, oh, I'm gonna move to LA, you know, and I was just like couch surfing everywhere. And I mean, I was like still coming to Portugal maybe like 3 times a year, you know. I would say like I was staying like 3-4 months in LA, come back for 1 month, go back to Portugal, you know, because it was still kind of hard. Like you know, that was like the first time I felt like homesick for real, and was kind of looking forward to come back to my home country. But I was already, I think we met 2018 maybe, like late.
Yeah, it was
2018.
Yeah, when you came over with Merge.
Yeah, because I was when I was like couch surfing. So like we had like a friend that introduced us, you know, and I was like just like couch surfing everywhere in LA, and then I asked a friend of mine called DJ Brace, like, oh, can I sleep in your house for a couple of days? And he was like, oh, I think you know, it's not gonna work out, something like that, but I have a friend of mine coming here and he likes your music, so he's staying in a hotel, so he's gonna let you stay in the hotel, sleeping in his hotel room. And I was like, yeah, I'm down. And then I met him, and then I just like stay with him, and he's one of, you know, really good friends of Travis, and he was going to see Travis in one of those days, so I just went with him, and that's how we met, which is kind of funny, like thinking, like looking back now, like the whole
and so you met in real life before you started working.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's funny because like we also met at Sonar, but like we wasn't properly meeting like in I don't know, 2016.
No, it would have been earlier than
for
that. I think it was
15.
like
Yeah.
14 or 15.
But it was just like I went to Sonar with my brother and just like partying and like first time actually like going to a festival outside of Portugal just for fun. And I was already making music, so I brought some USBs with my music and then just like to give to people that I look up to. And I remember seeing Travis in the crowd, and I was there like, oh, I like your music. Here's my USB. Can I take a photo with you? And but then like properly meeting like, oh, I am Miguel, you are Travis, and
Yeah.
That
was it
2008.
merge? Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember you gave me that USB drive, and then I added a bunch of the tracks to like my DJ folders, and then it was maybe like a year or two later that I was like, oh, what is this? And I couldn't remember how I got the track. I was like, Holly. I couldn't remember because it's like
That's so
already part of
fun.
my collection. And then when we got reintroduced, I was like, oh yeah, that's who made those songs that I was playing in my sets. That was
That's
funny.
great.
But
Then
not only did our mutual friend Merge bring us together, which he's really good at doing, merging. I was represented by his same manager. At the time, you guys had just started working together.
Yeah.
So it was like there's all these different forces just pulling us
Right.
together, which was really cool. I was like, I guess we got to collaborate, bro.
Nice.
Because I don't, especially with people that, like most of my collaborations are typically with like longtime friends,
Yeah.
people that I've already established a certain amount of trust with, which I'm sure you know is very important.
Yeah.
Being able to like just have that trust to let your collaborator do whatever they want to do and just let them do their thing and not question it, and just I think having that friendship already there can help facilitate that really quickly.
Yeah.
But I definitely felt, other than these signs from the universe that we had to work together, I definitely felt this like ease with Miguel that like, and he even in the way that he wanted to collaborate and wanted to get songs started. He was just a very like free, like do whatever you want, like let's not think too hard about it, and just and instead of, because there are some collaborations I do with people for the first time and it seems like they already have their intentions set, which is great. Like I feel like sometimes I need to be a bit more intentional with what I do. But I was like, okay, this is going to be really easy working with him. So I was like, let's do it. We don't, and I'm sure we'll become friends. And
thank you for the trust.
Yeah, of course.
I want to bring it back for a moment to your brother because who's your brother?
DJ Ride.
Right, and he also released on Vision.
Yeah.
So I wanted to mention that quickly. It's like I don't
yeah.
think a lot of people know that we have a family, kind of a family within a family within Vision, where we have Holly and DJ Wright releasing on Vision.
And even Des from Boys Brothers and Razad, and it's been very interesting.
Yeah. All right. So and then your new EP.
Yes.
You mentioned a track title, Japanese word. What is that?
Kanagawa.
Yeah.
It translates to River of Heaven, which is what the Japanese call the Milky Way, our galaxy.
Yeah.
Yeah. The name kind of came after us scouring the internet for like all, because we were talking about concepts for the EP, and somehow we landed on this idea, or this like sort of imagery of two, like my music representing one galaxy, or just not even my music, but just my world, like everything that's led up to where I am in my life, with music, with culture, with like everything that essentially being represented by a galaxy. And then the same for Miguel. And then with our age differences, our upbringing, like like him growing up in Portugal, me growing up in East Coast America, like there's so many differences there, but you know, the this idea of these two different separate galaxies coming together, and almost being like pulled together by shared interest, was just very exciting visually. And I think we were more so than inspiration for the music, because really the music came first and all the songs had different titles originally. But
only Hudson is like the only one that we kept.
yeah,
the
exactly,
original
because
name.
it fit with
in,
the
right.
theme. But yeah, we were just, you know, trying to come up with a brief to present to Kushlet, who's an incredible designer. He did our EP artwork. And he, you know, we wanted to bring something really strong for him to run with.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's what we landed on. And then we were, I think I can't remember what the term is for, there is an actual term for galaxy, what it means for galaxies to collide, but it just didn't, it was a little too cold sounding.
Yeah.
And it's at some point during our breaks while we were working together on that final phase of the audio side of things, we were just looking all over the internet. And yeah, I remember one of the a strong visual idea that came to me was I had remembered this poster that I had in my room growing up, like when I first started making electronic music, actually, that was like in like right next to my computer where I made all my music. It was a big map of the universe. I think that's what it was actually called. It's like map of the universe, and I had like all the constellations. And
was it like from the point of view of Earth, like looking up at the sky like a celestial chart?
No, it was I think with like our solar system as like the center,
Yeah.
and then everything else like sort of expanding around it. But it was glow in the dark. I just remember just looking really cool, and so I was like, I wonder if I can find the same thing on like Google or whatever. Then I found it, and I found that people are selling it online for thousands of dollars now. I was like, damn, I should have kept this thing. And then I was looking for related images, and I started seeing all these Japanese zodiac things coming up. And so I checked them out, and I kept seeing this recurring word in Japanese. And then I saw that it was like the Japanese word for Milky Way. And then I looked further and into what the actual translation was, and it said it was River of Heaven. I was like, this is it.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
this is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And then today you had a little surprise by
yeah,
label
totally
crew.
unexpected.
Yeah.
That's gorgeous.
Yeah, telescope.
A little telescope engraved
Yeah.
with the Japanese characters and because you said before originally like you really wanted the EP to be titled like in the Japanese word, not the English translation.
Yeah. I think, you know, this is easy coming from a Western mindset, but just looking at Japanese letters, I've always felt they just look so beautiful, and just the way that they're just so visually pleasing.
Yeah.
And also I knew that Kushlet could probably make something really interesting using that as
shapes.
Yeah, exactly, because
Rather
he's really good with geometry and symmetry, and just doing like really interesting kind of otherworldly like shapes. So yeah, I felt I felt very strongly about just keeping the original Japanese title, and definitely understand from a practical point of view people not being able to find the EP. But yeah,
well, it helps that the translation is also like a
cool name.
Yeah, really cool word or bunch of words.
Yeah, I think that was another reasoning behind us deciding to use that, because it actually does have a very beautiful translation.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we were having we had a conversation about merch ideas, and we were talking about, yeah, Kush is gonna do some shirts and this and that, but what other interesting things could we do? And we were talking about, some other more typical things like coffee mugs and
Scarves.
yeah, just like other like clothing accessories and hats and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I forget how we came. I mean, yeah, we were just talking about like what could we do that's more leaning into the concept of the album. I can't remember who came up. Someone in the meeting, was it Lewis?
I don't know, maybe Lewis. Yeah.
I remember Lewis.
Telescope would be dope.
He looked on Alibaba while we're in the middle of the meeting to see like how much it would be to like mass produce a bunch of telescopes and have them wrapped, and we like realized that it was actually very doable, and and then we let Vision know like this is what we want to do, and
we
they surprised us today with this.
We had like no idea
beautiful.
that this was like in the this was just like the idea, but I didn't know that this was like in the process to be created. So it's a great surprise. Yeah.
I don't think the details are completely worked out, but I think it's 100% the idea.
This is a great prototype.
To have a couple of these on sale, like they'll be very limited edition.
And also solidifies like the concept,
Yeah.
So people can also be more connected with like what we present,
Yeah, I think in a world of digital audio, doing something other than vinyl to people that couldn't physically have their hands on, I think is important, especially for, some people.
I think these personal cameras are a bit more zoomed in, so you can have a better look than just on that.
Yeah. No, that's a good call. Yeah. But I know some people that don't buy vinyl just out of like more of an environmental thing. There's some questions there about carbon footprint and everything with pressing vinyl. I totally get it. No shade. I do vinyl for all of my releases. I think a big reason for it though is because of that. I do believe in having some sort of physical
100%
representation of your work. So
it's just so annoying that it takes so long.
It takes so long.
My vinyl, like my EP came out end of March, and we're still waiting on the vinyl to get there.
Oof. I hear hearing this story with everyone now.
Oh yeah, and the Earthworks, Unearthed distribution went ahead. That's what do we call it?
Went under? Or?
Yeah. Bottoms up. So a lot of people had kind of already produced things, but they were in their warehouse and then trying to get their own vinyl that they already bought back from this company that's no longer really working. Like they're not paying their employees because they're out of money. It's been a nightmare for a lot of independent labels.
Yeah, and there's so few options out there that if something like that happens, it affects a whole portion of the industry and not just a handful of labels. It's crazy. At least things are going a little bit faster than they were during the pandemic. I released an album in the middle of the pandemic, and I remember we had to have a lead time of almost a year for the vinyl, just for the vinyl side of things. Like just to be safe, we needed to deliver the masters like way early than we would normally do it, just to make sure that the vinyl came out at the same time as the release day.
I hate it.
Yeah. Because then you have like an entire year you're waiting for your album to come out.
Yeah, and you're like super focused on other projects.
Yeah,
like
and then by the time it comes out, you're like,
old thing.
I made an album.
I started this 2 years ago or a year and a half ago.
Yeah, which actually makes me it has made me lean into the waterfall release idea a bit more, because then you're at least
still attached to what's coming out.
Yeah, and you feel like there is like a momentum building rather than a big silent period.
Yeah.
And then the album drops.
Yeah.
And also, I understand that a lot of people don't listen to full albums anymore. A lot of people are, just quickly listening to whatever's out and in the moment, whatever singles out, and the algorithms pushing singles. And
Mm-hmm.
so instead of fighting against it, it's like I
Yeah.
think it's important to embrace it. But at the same time, you know, when it comes to bodies of work like an EP or album or whatever, I think there is an importance there of making sure that it is all connected and does for the people that do appreciate
Yeah.
concept albums or whatever, you know, there is that aspect to it, but then in a more business sense, you're okay with it being like released in stages,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And it used to, when that whole model first was introduced, I was very resistant against it. And
I mean, the model is very, very old to do just a bunch of singles and then be like, okay, let's collect these on an album and also like make some stuff around it so it's one.
Mm-hmm.
right, but
It's
maybe not as many singles. Like maybe there would be like one or two,
Yeah.
and now it's like you have half of an album coming out before an album
Yeah.
it drops.
Yeah.
You know, depending on the level of artist you're at. Like, you know, if you're Beyonce or Skrillex level, you could just
you can
drop
just
it.
surprise drop an album.
Yeah, exactly, and
And
get
that
away
actually
with it.
works better. But yeah, if
Or maybe that's the story we tell ourselves, and we can just start doing
Do
that
that
too.
as well. Yeah.
I don't think it would work for us. No, I don't think it would like cut through the noise enough. So
Yeah.
you really need to kind of
Strategy.
drip feed and get like small momentums rather than one big splash that everyone talks about.
Yeah. Yeah, because people's attention spans these days are so short that
on the internet,
Yeah.
yes.
that you need to have multiple moments
Yeah.
for people to talk about and remind them that
Yeah.
we're still here.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think on every way that you can reach other people, they're very saturated in those communication channels. So to get through, it's just a lot of people don't realize that you just put a bunch of songs out that they could have been playing in their sets, and then they find out, it's like, this is sick. Why didn't you tell me? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, you know, I did what I could.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, I don't write everyone personal messages, sure, but come
Yeah.
on, I'm working on the next record, or I'm trying to relax or whatever, you know, like all that work. If people now have so many promos coming into their emails that they miss them, and then the algorithms have to choose
Mm-hmm.
to some extent what makes it through to the user, because otherwise the user would be forced to be online the whole day just to keep up with it.
Yeah,
what
to
everyone
make
is
sure
saying.
that they get your drop
Yeah.
release announcement and everything like that. Yeah, I mean,
It's tough.
yeah, it is tough, and there's a certain, again, like a resistance to bashing people over the head over and over
Mhm.
with your really like, this is out. Oh, by the way, this is out, and here's another thing to remind you that this is out.
Yeah.
But you know, I remember hearing Tyler, the creator, say something recently about like getting over that side of things, just being like, this is something you're so passionate about, this is your life, why not do everything possible to make sure as many people get to hear it? Why have this attitude of spending like blood, sweat, and tears on something you're so in love with, just to be like, okay, I'm on to the next thing, you know? And that really struck me. I was like,
Yeah.
wow,
Yeah, I
you know,
remember seeing that too.
that
It's a huge part of the art form, and the way the art is perceived by the audience is how it's presented, and how the presentation is, whether it's consistent or it seems a bit like jagged and edgy. Is like, oh, one post there and like blah blah blah. And I think it's really, it's hard for, I think a lot of artists are very sensitive and typically part-time introverts. Like, I think to make, especially music, is such a the way it works now with like a lot of people working by themselves on laptops, it's a really comfort zone thing where you're like super in your hyper focus moment and you're just focused on that making the music, which is completely almost diametrically opposed to
The presentation.
to presenting it.
Yeah.
But if you can't also see that the way you present and kind of make sure it reaches the audience and care about that, then you're missing the point of being an artist. Like that part is part of how, like how to reach people is part of how to make them feel things, which is obviously what we want with music, to make them feel things. But yeah, the way it reaches them is part of how they are going to feel things.
Yeah.
But I mean, what you said, I'm aware of it. It's just not my forte.
Right.
It's not what I love. It's not what I obsess about.
It's not why you're doing it. But
yeah, but that's why you also
there's a
part of-
responsibility there in the same way that, you know, we have to do our taxes, we have certain things that as people that we're responsible, especially if you want this to be a career, it's like there's certain things that you don't necessarily want to do that are the hard, like evil parts of it sometimes.
But most labels will be really proactive about trying
sure.
to get you to do things, like the fact that we're doing this interview is part of it. It's fully like this is organized by Vision. That they want to do something, and you guys said yes.
Yeah.
So that's like that. And for me, when I did my EP on Vision, they were very helpful with kind of facilitating the interviews that I did. Like I interviewed all the collaborators to kind of like have things to talk about. And for me, my EP was really about like the togetherness that club music can bring. This was like shoulder to shoulder of being in the club. So like I was also thinking like, how am I going to present this? How am I going to make like a little world that people can understand? I was like, well, I have to talk to people. I have to, like, the artwork for me is very like it tries to make you feel like you're in a club, and everything is blurry and anonymous, and you're really by yourself. No one is bothering you, and you're in the music and
having your own moment
yeah.
and experience with it.
Yeah,
that's great.
And then I wanted to, I did those interviews for that reason. It's like this sense of togetherness, of community is what I wanted to focus on.
Amazing.
Yeah. What you said something about being an introvert, or like a lot of musicians are introverted. I mean, I don't know if Miguel feels the same way, but I feel like I'm an introvert that's had to learn how to be an extrovert because of the nature of what we do and playing shows and meeting people and networking and putting myself out there on social media to a certain degree of, you know, like reaching out to fans and interaction and everything like that. It is kind of a lot of this stuff initially felt against my nature, but it's become incorporated into who I am.
I think
more
I've always
and
been
more.
like very 50-50 on that. Like, I go through phases too. I think sometimes I'm like, oh, I love to meet new people, you know, and like hear about their stories, and especially when it's like people that come from like different places that I come from, and I think just like, you know, being from Portugal and like meeting people from other countries is always like something new for me, like to learn about. But then, you know, so I'm okay with that part of like meeting people and all that. But sometimes I'm like, I just want to be by myself, you know. And
but it's kind of a misunderstanding that introverts don't have social needs or struggle.
Everybody does.
Or struggle connecting with people. It's just basically sometimes you just need to recharge by yourself.
Right. And you get that recharging by being by yourself, whereas some people get that recharging by being with others.
And I think there's a lot of introverts that have a switch where they can flip and become extroverted, and I'm very much one of them, especially when I'm on stage.
Yes.
Like, there's nothing introverted about me on stage, and I've always kind of had this where I'm like, I can flip it, but it takes energy.
Yeah.
But it's lovely. Like I love being that other
the transformation.
Yeah. Yeah, Nick Cave talks about this really beautifully,
Mm.
the transformation part.
So do you feel like when you do those shows and like you present yourself to so many people, do you feel that like after the shows you need to spend more time by yourself so you can compensate that energy or?
Yeah, if I have the luxury of doing that,
Yeah.
like when I'm on tour in America, then I'm like, no, but now I'm here and I can write songs with friends. Like,
Right.
I'm gonna stay at Amon's. But yeah, me and Amon, like we barely leave the house, and we are so comfortable with each other now that I feel like I'm introverting, but then together with
Right.
someone that is just like equally spaced out and does not mind
Yeah.
if I'm just like kind of nerding
Figuring
out by
out, yeah.
myself for a bit.
Or as opposed to like doing a collab with someone that you've never met before, or you've like have known like kind of
Yeah.
casually from meeting at
Yeah,
shows, and then
figuring out their energy.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
figuring out like
Mhm.
what the dynamic is going to be like, and yeah, you never know what you're going to get, and that is exciting, but it's a totally different mindset you're
Yeah.
in. Yeah,
I think that can be exhausting.
yeah.
And then also, yeah, I mean,
Depending on the person,
yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Sometimes it's completely relaxed. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, this is great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And then beautiful music comes from that.
yeah,
It can also come, beautiful music can also come from that very different kind of energy
Oh,
as
yeah,
well.
100%.
As long
That's-
as you lean into it, I think if you resist it, then nothing good is ever going to come from
yeah.
it.
But then, like, I don't know. I've become much more aware of like what signs my body and brain give me
Yeah,
about
yeah.
where my boundaries are. Like, I've
Mhm.
always had these boundaries. I just wasn't so good at recognizing them, and I've become better at recognizing them, and then also kind of being ruthless about like demanding some space for whatever I think my body is signaling that I need. So
Mm.
I can be like, no, actually, I'm not gonna do any tourist stuff. I'm not gonna go to a restaurant. I'm gonna order in. I don't want to leave the house today because I just need to do
Right.
nothing for a day and have
Remember
Mhm.
who you are.
very little triggers and very little sensory input, basically.
Yeah.
Have you always been like that, or do you feel like it's been changing?
No,
As you
I've
get
always
older?
been like that. It's just the more I read about people, the more I learn about myself, the more I recognize it.
You're more aware of like.
Yeah, I'm more aware of how it works, but I'm also aware that it's always worked like this.
Mm-hmm.
But then I would just exhaust myself, basically, because I didn't realize I was exhausting myself.
Right. Yeah, that feeling of I'm just done talking for the day.
Yeah.
I don't want to go out to dinner with these people before this show. Like you're in the middle of
Yeah.
a tour and maybe there's a couple people there that you haven't seen in a while, but you're like, I can't add anything to,
Yeah.
to this
You
conversation.
need
I'm
to be
brain dead.
selfish too sometimes, like,
Yeah.
and like really protect your peace
Yeah.
and like your
Yeah,
energy,
yeah.
you know.
Absolutely.
But last night I totally went over. I was feeling all of that, and I was like, yeah, but if
There's exceptions too.
yeah, I
think,
also knew
of
that I
course.
was so tired and hungover that actually going into studio at night and staying up a bit later would be actually because my conscious brain was a bit faded, and I was like, maybe
Yeah.
we'll hit it off.
Yeah, maybe it would be a
Yeah.
good state of consciousness to be in
Yeah,
when making
yeah.
songs, to be
And I know I
slightly detached.
I can always stay awake. Like
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
a light sleeper and I like stay up late and stuff. So I'm like, I'm not actually gonna fall asleep there.
Yeah.
Like,
in the middle of the session.
and then yeah, no,
We're making exciting music
Yeah.
too.
You're very awake by the third song. That's why.
Yeah, we had
Yeah.
Tice doing some punk vocals last
Yeah.
night in our session.
Yeah.
It'll be a treat for you all to hear it. for
yeah.
We didn't have to do anything. He
And
just
and Miguel
did it by himself.
said you two hadn't even really started songs in the same room before. Like
yeah.
everything started.
Yeah,
that
that
was
was kind of
kinda-
like
that was the first
uh,
time.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
First time also just like being like in the studio like that, you know. It's
Yeah.
been like, oh, we start something, but then I go to Travis' house and then it's like, oh yeah, let's just finish these or whatever.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
finishing up things
Yeah.
You
together.
know, but also like, oh, it's practice for the next back to back, or like these are, you know,
yeah,
like
yeah.
it has never been like, oh, let's
Let's
just
make
like
something
make
from
music, you know.
scratch.
Yeah.
And it was also like really fun because like we've been collaborating for like such a long time that this was also the first time also working with, you know, someone
A
else, you know.
third, yeah.
So I also like really appreciate that energy, you know, and I think I think it's like interesting when you have like a good team, but then like you try to expand like that energy to like other projects, you know, and
Yeah.
and like you know I enjoyed that what yesterday and
Yeah, me too.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm also. I said to Miguel, I'm also like really in shape writing wise. Like I've been writing so much this year, and also the last couple of weeks, that I really know my routines and
Right.
like I was yeah I was tired, but I'm like, but I think I can do. You know, I think we can just jam out some.
Mhm.
You definitely weren't slow getting into it. You were just like, all right, let's go, and just like started like it seemed like you had a process that to just get things going, and I loved that rather than just being like, oh, let's just listen through samples until we find something. You're just like very instant, like I'm gonna put this kick in here, I'm gonna put this clap.
Yeah.
I love this clap. I love using this clap.
That's
on all
like
my
the way I
songs.
work too. So
Yeah.
and I think you kind of maybe
Just-
work
yeah.
a little bit
Well,
depending on the project.
More
yeah.
so now, yeah.
Yeah.
Or especially since I started doing film scoring and TV scoring, which has made my approach to writing music much more immediate and getting out ideas as fast as possible, and trying to actually finish things as fast as possible. Because I definitely, you know, within the past 10 years, I did start to realize the importance of. I've talked about this before, but the importance of sketches and the clarity of the sketches and like, you know, instead of like messing around, even though it can be fun to do some sound design elements in that initial demo writing session, just getting out like a sketch of an idea and then focusing on all those detailed things later. It's I think of it like in a very visual way. Like if like let's say, you know, you only have 30 minutes to sit down in a park and draw a sketch of a tree. It's like you want to get as much of that picture sketched out without it being super detailed, just so that you can take it away later and be like, okay, I just seeing this, I remember exactly what the details were like,
exactly.
rather than being like, okay, I'm going to start on the leaf. And the details of that leaf, and then you're like, oh wait, what was the rest of the tree look like? You know.
And I think for to work like that, you really need to have like 10 years of writing down your belt, so you really know like this is what I'm gonna struggle with later. So if I focus on that now, on this thing, that thing, this thing, and with those 4 or 5 things, the whole thing later is filling in, which I know how to fill in. But sometimes I still struggle finding like a B part. So the fact that we have on the second song, we already have the B part, we have the intro. I know like writing that song is gonna be super easy.
So easy.
And then we'll do a cool intro or outro, like some escapes.
Yeah, little transitions.
But the dynamic of like the variations, like the A theme and the B themes,
the core is there.
Yeah.
And that's the most important part, I think, because that's what essentially the song is, you know, and getting out that idea first and being able to move along away from that, I think is really important too.
Yeah, because we really left this like, okay, no, this is clear.
Like, I could play this tonight in the club.
Yes.
Even if I just played a minute of it.
Yeah,
you know?
but we were like very excited to keep working on it and make it better. But we were like, but we can also start a new thing because this is now clear. Like, and we can always come back to this and also work on it separately. We have maybe 1 more or 2 more hours in the studio tonight, maybe a couple of hours tomorrow after the interview. So let's just
what's more important, us like
song.
really exactly, us really focusing all of our time on one song that might actually not go anywhere, or writing as many ideas as possible, and a few of those could actually go somewhere.
But I think for that, what I said, like you really need to have made a lot of music and run into a lot of your own like problems. You're like, oh, I always get stuck at this part, to then know that, okay, with time pressure, I'm gonna only focus on those things that I get stuck on, and the rest that is easy for me, I'll do that later, because even if I'm having an off day and I don't feel super creative and in the mood, I can still do that stuff because it's routine, and then I know my taste and I know how I want to do this, and technicalities like mixing, like, unless my ears are fucked or I'm super tired, like I can always do a mix down. I don't need to be inspired to do a mix down.
No.
Like the ideas, the generating stuff is for for me usually the problem. Like and especially when I'm in a loop,
Getting out of the loop.
getting out of the loop and making an alternate thing, which makes writing songs so much easier, is very hard for me. So if I do that early on, like we did yesterday, then I'm like, oh God, I've already solved the problem that I know I'm gonna have later.
Yeah, just giving yourself as many options as possible that you might get rid of further down the road, but just having enough ideas there to start with that you just have those options to work with later, and it just makes the finishing process so much easier. Oh, and also you just having that clear vision of what your original intention or whatever you.
I
think the timer.
We had a timer, but the screen went black. We're about 45 minutes in.
Okay,
so
good to know. I think we
have more 3 hours to go.
Should we have a piano break?
So I'm kind of like curious because like for me, I never really had that many writer's block, and I feel like just hit the wood 3 times. But like, yeah, and I think like for me, something that has always helped me was like yesterday we did that exercise of like, oh, let's do something fast in like 15 minutes or whatever. Like I do that a lot just on my own. Like I love to like on a perfect working day, I love to but also I make a lot of like hip hop beats that end up being that practice my minimalism somehow in the process. But like usually I love to start like, oh, for this next hour or for these next 2 hours, I'm just gonna make as many like hip hop beats as possible, and hopefully like if I make 10 I'll be very happy, but like let's like maybe go with 5, and then like after that I'm like, oh, now let me just really think like what I have inside, what are my emotions, like what I want to like express, and like do something that is more like a journey, and does end up being more like the songs for Holly, and then like the rap beats end up being stuff that I use for other projects. But I think that process of me pushing myself to be really fast at making something, and also to not think too much, it's like, oh, let me get whatever sample I find and whatever drum loop I find and put them together, and that's it, and tweak a few things, like that practice my mindset to the point that it's kind of hard for me to feel a block on something, and I feel that even when I'm working on stuff for myself, it's very easy for me to get out of the you were saying that you have like a hard time getting out of the loop. For me it's very like easy. I just think like, oh, let me just get a sound that I like, and now let me just like get a lot of stuff, like play a lot of stuff in the same key or whatever, and just get a lot of layers like behind this stem, and then now let me just like try to put things together, So I think like doing those exercises always kind of help me to not, to those issues not be a issue, Yeah, and I think it's also once again, like in a lot of sessions I end up doing, a lot of those sessions end up being with rappers, and sometimes like, they don't care about like the stuff that comes out 3 minutes and 21 seconds, right? It's like if the first 10 seconds need to catch the ear right away, so that kind of made me like bring that into my world, so it's interesting to hear your perspective on that, because I feel like I kind of developed those tools inside of me, so like I can always like keep going, and I feel like, for me, it's more like getting tired of stuff, like what else am I doing in the day that then is going to affect my being productive, so
like doing this interview.
No, not at all. But like, for example,
well, I think it's important to talk about your process, because it like helps you. It becomes more defined.
Yeah. But I feel it's more like, actually, I've been like doing that. Like one of my challenges at the moment is like, how can I be the most productive daily? So I've been practicing like what's like the best routine that I can have, and like the stuff that I like to do at what time in the day can that come in? Is it making beats a better thing in the morning when I wake up, or later at night, or like in the middle of the afternoon? And like what type of process I like to put, and is it watching a movie then making beats going to help? So like I'm like.
Are you still in the middle of discovering what that is for you?
I am. Especially because like I love, like, since I'm like 18, 19, like since I went to Lisbon to study when I was like 18, 19, and I was studying at night. So I would go to classes at like, 7 p.m. and then I would get out of the classes by like 11 or like midnight. and then I would like work the whole night, and then I went like on music, and then I went to sleep because I could wake up at like 5 p.m. and then like go to school, right? And then I started like DJing and everything. So for a big period in my 20s, like I always been waking up at like 1 p.m. or like 2 p.m. like every day, you know, and like waking up before 10 a.m. would be like very, very, very rare. Like even before like 1 p.m. So, but now I'm like in this moment where I'm finding the beauty of like
Having a day.
living my life
In
according
sunlight.
to the sunlight, you know.
Yeah.
So like waking up, like here in Europe is kind of different. I feel like it's easier for me to wake up early when I'm in LA. So like for me, the perfect routine has been like waking up at 6 or 7, you know, and like read, meditate, have a really good meal, do emails, and then like just make music, you know, and then go to sleep at like 10, you know, and then yeah. But like here in Europe is always kind of different, I think, you know. I don't know if it's because like I end up spending a lot of time in my parents' house, so like you know, everything's just so easy. Like I don't need to cook, I don't need to, go do groceries or everything. So like I feel like I end up being a little bit more lazy.
Well, I think
But,
the thing, just from my perspective,
yeah.
being an American, like coming to Europe,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
everything is typically a bit later in general. Like
Yeah.
you're eating dinner later, you're eating lunch later.
You play later.
You
Yeah.
play later.
Portugal
Clubs
is
are
the worst. Like Portugal, your set starts at 4:30.
yeah.
It's like before my
If
flight,
you're lucky.
my hotel tomorrow. Like check out at 11, and
Yeah.
I'm in the hotel at 7.
Yeah, you don't see that at all in America. Maybe in New York on occasion, but
Yeah, and
rarely.
I miss that in America because the energy is just at night is nice,
Yeah,
but it's not healthy. Like to live more with the sunlight.
yeah.
And I'm also like very much a night person, and
Mhm.
in my early 20s, if I could, I would stay up until 6 a.m. and
Same.
sleep
I love that.
until
I love it.
2.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I still enjoy a lot, you know.
Yeah,
But then
but it's not
that's like what
healthy.
I'm getting, because when I wake up after one, I'm like that's what I'm understanding, especially now being in Portugal. Is like I wake up at 1 p.m. and like I feel so. It's not the way that I like to start the day.
No.
You know, I
Right.
feel like I need
Yeah.
like to rush and catch out on like
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
But then it's just like psychological, because I can still wake up at 1 and be like, oh, for me this is just 7 a.m. now, you know, and like if I go to sleep at 6 a.m. that can be my 10, you know, but it's not the same thing.
If you
So
want to do something outside,
Yeah.
go for a swim or go for a walk when it's still light outside. Like you
Yeah.
miss so much of the day. And I think most important of it is that the kind of neuropsychological
Yeah.
part of it, where the sunlight actually, missing the sunlight makes you depressed.
hmm
Yeah, I mean,
And
there's
then-
literal like, neurochemical things going on there that you're missing out on,
Yeah.
like vitamin D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is so
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
I'm getting very sensible to that, like these days. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very, very. So that's like where I'm at with like understanding what's like the best routine for me, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Drink lots of water.
Yeah.
Water is very important.
I think we can wrap up, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
We've talked about the EP.
Yeah. Life, productivity.
Oh yeah, we're really excited
Yeah.
to play at Paradiso.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
At ADE.
Yeah. You played in Berlin on Friday together.
We
Yes.
did just play. Well, we didn't. We did like a short back to back, maybe like
Mhm.
15, 20 minutes. But
They were kind
Par-
of separate.
yeah,
It was his set, then back to back, and
and then
my set.
Yeah. But I think at
Yeah.
Paradiso we're actually doing a set together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which,
And we also like planning stuff for the release party
yep.
in
In
LA.
LA.
Yeah.
When is that?
So that should be like on the weekend of the release. So
Nice.
I think it's like September 2nd.
Second, yeah.
Something like that.
Nice.
yeah, we're figuring out like what we're really going to do.
Great.
Yeah, then we have like a couple more shows like being announced soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. How about you? Like, are you like where are you going to be in the next month? You said you're going to go to America, right?
Yeah, I'm working on a visa.
Okay.
Because the Noisia visa is no longer
Okay.
applicable, so I need
Mhm.
O1?
a solar visa. Yeah,
Okay.
O1. Yeah.
I'll sign the letter of recommendation for you if you
Yeah.
need.
Thank you. Yeah, like America is very exciting lately. Also, like my last shows there as Noisia, I'm like, wow, this place like
It's changed.
the place of electronic music and specifically drum and bass has drastically improved.
Mm-hmm.
And just as we left, it was like, now it's good. Now we built it to the right place.
Yeah.
And then, but
That's
it's also
funny.
nice. Like, it always comes in cycles. So I can always remember that I left on a high note with the noisier stuff. But yeah, there's so many underground things happening, like on more of the indie club music set.
Like
Mhm.
warehouse
Sound.
parties and stuff.
It's not so genreified. I like in here in Europe, like almost all nights are genre nights, and there it's more like, yeah, it's just like bass or UK club music, and then
it's much more inclusive
yeah.
now, because there was
Totally.
that for a while.
Yeah.
There was this big separation between, like, you only could play drum and bass at this party,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like if you even try to play dubstep or anything outside of it,
Yeah.
they wouldn't book you again.
yeah,
You know, or like people would like actually get upset with the promoters and everything.
yeah.
But
And
now there's a lot of
I think
inclusion.
because it was unpopular for a while, it came out more, just more towards. I don't know how. I think that has to do with these cycles of popularity, and also people that do this pigeonholed stuff that was really successful, but then they started struggling because people weren't actually that interested and that passionate about just that one thing they liked more. So now other promoters are thriving because they have this other kind of modus operandi, and I'm really excited to go explore that. I'm working on shows in Europe. This summer was my summer off. Like this show we just played in Eindhoven. We also did a little back to back.
That's fun.
That was my only summer festival. The rest of summer I said no. This one was a drive, so I was like, it's fun. It's for Jonathan. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
And it was.
It was super
That
fun.
back to back at the end was
Yeah.
epic. That'll go down in history.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
Who all was there? It was Emanu, you, me, Holly, Karakol Project, Bunshin,
Ways,
and
course.
yeah, all together.
Yeah.
Doing a back to back at the end.
There's some pictures that everyone is.
That one was the best, where there's literally 5 arms reaching onto the mixer, like 4 different CDJs. People are searching their tracks and like.
Yo,
Yeah.
is that your USB? Can you take out your
Yeah,
USB?
Yeah. I made sure that as soon as I finished
that's
a
on my-
track, I
yeah.
took mine out. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna.
Yeah, that
do
was
this.
free.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
free. Yeah.
I think, we were talking about video games and DJing. Like, for me, that's what it makes
Yeah, the
me
hot
think of.
seat, the hot seat gaming.
But it's like, I mean, yes, it's not like you're playing video games in your bedroom. I think it's more like playing at like a video game competition or
Right,
something.
yeah,
like where
yeah.
people are watching you play
Yeah,
video
yeah.
games.
Who gets the
Competitors.
best score? Who gets
Yeah.
who gets like the craziest crowd
Yeah.
reaction?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like friendly competition
Yeah,
too,
yeah,
and you're not trying to outdo anybody. If anything, you're just trying to make everybody excited, and it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah.
I do want to outdo everybody.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
but in a friendly way.
In a
though.
friendly
Not-
way.
Not outdo someone like to show them up or anything.
Well, a little bit. but that rises. I mean, I only, like, with you, I didn't.
Yeah.
But if it's chaotic, I'm like, I'm going to add to this chaos.
Right.
Like, I want to be the first to drop
How do you cut through
current
it?
value
Yeah.
and lime wax. And then when they were playing dubstep, I was like, I have one turbo abrasive song, which is this remix that we did ourselves, which is just like this rhythm kind of
Yeah.
terrible one note bass line. I was like, I'll just play that. You know?
Yeah, it's your opportunity to play stuff that you don't normally get to.
Yeah, and
yeah.
that for me, it's very sarcastic to play it. It's like, this is actually like way over the edge, but
Yeah, but
If-
people get it because they
Yeah.
see the reactions of everybody on stage and
Yeah.
like laughing
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
pulling the tracks up
Yeah.
and just I think being in the audience, you almost like feel like you want to be on stage,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
but you
yeah,
feel
yeah.
like you are part
Yeah.
of it, like, because when you just see like one person like DJing, there's this definite like a separation, but when everybody's kind of partying together
Yeah.
on stage, it just feels like more of
Yeah.
a unified thing, and people want to stick around and see what happens
Yeah.
next.
I really like playing with people behind me. whether it's a booth
Mm.
or just a section of the crowd that's behind the stage, which
Yeah,
you know sometimes gives a lot of sound issues. So
Same.
yeah. I've been having
but
those
this
some shows like that too.
yeah, the idea that you know it's not like audience performer, but that it's like as performer you're part because you are part of what everyone's
Right.
experiencing.
Yeah, this idea of like people looking at you, like you're the focal point,
Yeah.
just is so backwards to me.
Yeah,
You know,
it's
or
very.
it's a very older kind of mindset of
It
like rock
depends though.
musicians or
Like
something.
if you did a concept album like that is so conceptual and it has all these visuals, then you really want to present it like a movie. And
But
you
that's
want
different. But that still the idea of people looking at you, unless you've got like a bunch of gear and you're
Yeah.
actually doing something very physical, and you know,
But then still, actually, I find myself at a lot of live performances not even watching the
right.
performance because I was like, yeah, I know what it looks like when a drummer drums or a guitar player plays a guitar or when a people a synth person touches some buttons.
That's true.
It's not actually that exciting.
Right.
What is exciting about it is seeing that it's live because that means it can go wrong. And that
Right.
vulnerability is what's missing in DJing.
Yeah.
Which is why when something breaks, I'm always the happiest person in the room. Like when the power cuts, I'm like,
yeah, exactly.
Like,
or the DJ accidentally hits the wrong button or cue button. And
I always like if I make a mistake, I go like, hey! And it's like,
exactly.
Oops! I cue the wrong the wrong one, and the music stops.
Everybody's waiting for those moments of at least silence or something where they can like scream and stuff. So
yeah, but it's
like
both that, like the sonic space that it gives, but also the fact that things can actually go wrong. So everything before it and everything after it was also subject to that same vulnerability to mistakes.
Yeah.
That proves that, you know, it's not just a tape, and it's not safe. It's not like
right.
I had a problem with our live performance, which was very like we had Ableton signals on a network cable going into like these hoods that we were wearing, but it was so complex that to be kind of relaxed and present on stage, we built in like there was a secondary for my modular stuff we had a backup tape in case it would freak out,
right?
And Martijn could actually just fade in a recording of the same thing.
You had fail-safe measures.
But and the whole set list was known because all the lights were programmed and the hoods and the visuals were
in sync.
Well, Nick was also doing live visuals.
Whoa.
But then, there were also programmed parts of it. But it made everything feel so like I'm on a machine. I have no control. Like I'm on a train. The train is not mine. I know when I get on, I know when I get off, and I know what to do on the train. But it won't stop. Like
it's going whether you're
and
there
I can't
or not.
change it.
Yeah.
And everything about it like is set, and like I loved. After that, I really understood how much I love DJing.
Yeah.
Because
same.
Any moment I want to, I know in most sets I won't. I know where to start. Have an idea of where I'm going.
But at least you have that option to go somewhere
100%.
else.
If something
and you're not
happens,
set in stone.
If something happens there, I'm like, oh, actually, maybe I do this now. And I love that if I play longer sets. And also Saturday, I did not know, because I didn't know how Waze was going to finish. I didn't know I did not know with what song to start. Normally I have my first 2-3 songs just for my own nerves, that I know the first 3 songs, I know what to do, and then I get the adrenaline on stage, and then I don't feel the nerves anymore, and it becomes like this kind of performance mode. But now I was just like, I don't know. Depends on his last song.
Yeah. I love that too. I love kind of, especially maybe not so much at festivals, but definitely at club nights. I like mixing out of whoever's playing before me.
Yeah.
I don't like playing like it depends. Like maybe if the night has just been like too much of one genre, I might switch it up. But even then, like I'll at least like have a couple of songs mixed out of it that are continuing the story of the night, and then kind of take it in my own direction. Yeah.
Tim, that's kind of crazy to know how you guys were doing that show with Noisy. I didn't know it was like that, like complex with like the mask and like with the lighting. Damn.
Yeah. I mean, it was all generated live in Ableton, so we didn't have like most shows like that have a time code,
Yeah.
and then you're really on the train, and it's a lot of reprogramming, and we just had to, like, if we wanted to do a new song, in the set list, I mean, there's some preparation, but we basically just write MIDI parts for it, for like the elements that we want to translate into the lights, and then we'd send those MIDI parts to our light engineer, and he would program for that song how he wants the lights, including our hoods, to act on the MIDI that we were sending him. It was super cool.
Yeah. But that's interesting because like I'm sure for like in a fan and crowd perspective, it must be like a crazy experience, you know. But then like you are there and you are like, oh, I'm on this train and like.
Well, it's like that whole.
Oh, you still. Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry, Alex.
Yeah.
This was in Amsterdam.
I think I was here actually.
It's in Melkweg.
Yeah.
Can you find yourself?
No, I was like on the on the platform, but like on this side actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I went with this with my brother, but like we got there only like on the last song or something like that. We got like so sad. But I remember like seeing.
You arrived in Portuguese time.
Portuguese. No, I don't. I think it just AD just like so much stuff,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh yeah, I can like do these 6 shows in one night,
Yeah.
But then, yeah. But I went to the Noisy invite, the ones you guys did with, was like shades and like gas lamp.
Oh, that was a sick.
Oh, I was there.
You were there?
Yeah, I did a Noisy invites in Amsterdam with shades.
Gas lamp was there?
Actually, no, gas lamp wasn't there.
Okay, I think I would remember further. But yeah, I remember that was like my first time coming to AD, and I went there just by myself, and it was such a cool show. Yeah.
I'll see you guys there.
Yeah, excited.
Yeah.
On Thursday.
Do you have any? Are you gonna do anything there? Or?
Not that I know of. No, I'm just getting started in a way with my new project. So
I don't even think we have a lineup confirmed for that night. You should come play. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I'm there, man. I'm there.
Yo, you just said it on camera. Like, no, you can't.
Yeah.
Can't go back.
There's no going back. So you could catch Machinedrum and Holly live at Paradiso ADE, and now we've added Tice onto the lineup.
On Thursday.
Yeah, on Thursday.
Paradiso.
Yeah.
And then I think Jonathan's thing is also on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So he's also doing a thing at AD. So
It's gonna be a good week.
Yeah, we should say that for like the whole
Yeah.
And then around that time you're going to Rome too, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, playing
Are those like the only 2 shows you have so far?
So far, I think that there's definitely some others in the works.
Kind of.
Yeah, but hopefully I can spend most of my time at ADE.
I might have a show the week after.
Mm-hmm.
We were working on something, but I don't with Nick, like back to back with Nick and Nier, but I don't know if that's happening. Otherwise, I might go to Italy. I might drive to Italy to my vacation house.
Nice.
In Tuscany.
Hey.
Hell yeah.
Oh. Well, thanks for doing this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks
It's
for
really
coming out to
great conversation.
And I'm so glad we can do these in real life and not be like a Zoom call or something.
Yeah.
It would have been fun too, but this is
Yeah,
definitely
no.
better. This is definitely better.
I kind of forgot there was cameras there. For
Man, it's so nice like to be. It's also my first time here at your guys' studio, and like this is.
Yeah, it's such an inspiring
man.
space. Like,
Yeah.
Congratulations, guys. Like, yeah.
I love everything
really
about
cool.
this place. So it's also, on a fan perspective, I'm like, oh my god, it's crazy, like being here.
Yeah, we're actually doing this in Martijn's room because we're working in my room and I didn't want to set up all the lights and cameras, so
he's got a lot of gear laying about in there.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a bit more difficult. This is definitely a more minimal kind of layout that he
yeah,
has in
usually,
here.
well, I mean, they cleared out his room a bit.
Of course,
so,
yeah.
But yeah, they would have had to done that in my room, and then we'd have to wait for it to get back. So
yours kind of feels a little bit bigger, but maybe it's because you have like more stuff.
No, it's
basically
exactly the same.
It's literally the
dimension.
same. Wow,
Yeah.
For some reason it seems bigger.
But it's like he has like the modular stuff there. He has like kind of like the piano here.
Harmonium,
Yeah. So like, that kind
Interesting.
of feels like there's like more stuff.
All right.
Yeah, man. But yeah, thank you so much. Shout out Vision. Check out our new project.
Oh! Well, it's a
Damn.
prototype, so that's great that I got that on camera, though.
Damn drugs.
River of Heaven. It's
Oh.
probably out now by the time they publish
Yeah,
this.
Yeah, they've
so
probably
out now.
Yeah, it's out now.
Check
on
on
Vision.
Spotify, SoundCloud, Bandcamp, Apple Music.
No, just on Bandcamp. Only Bandcamp.
That's hilarious.
Clonk. Killed it.
Uh,
No, at least it's on camera.
Yeah. Damn, shout out Phoebe for like biking and getting these on time as well.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
What a legend.
And driving us back from Eindhoven in one
Oh,
piece.
Yeah.
Peace.
So
Oopsie.